Hold up. Let me light my cigarette. Hey man, I don't want my face seen in this, okay? Just blur me out. Alright, I'm ready. My first encounter with it was when I was 7. A friend and I were walking home from school when we came across a man who was an addict. He was standing right on the sidewalk, with one hand on the fence and the other flailing about. His clothes were dirty and torn. His face was sullen and white like a ghost. But his eyes, man, you can see the devil in him. We both stood there frozen, just staring at him. We were afraid, yeah. We were also intrigued. Then he puked. After, he slowly lifted his head up, looked at us, and then smiled from one side of his mouth. And then he told us to come to him, because he wanted to give us a present. We were kids, man. We wanted the present, so we walked to him. We decided to go to my mother because we didn't know what it was he had given us. We couldn't figure it out, but we both agreed that Mom would probably know. When we got home, we went searching for my mother and found her sitting at the kitchen table writing something. "Mama," I said to her. "Oui, baby," she said, and turned to me. "A man on the street gave us something, but we don't know what it is," I said, and then lifted my hand up to show her. I opened the palm, and there it was, a used syringe. Horrified? Yeah, so were my parents. Both my parents were Moroccan and French. We lived in a place in France that was notoriously known for its violence and substance pushing. So there they were, already pretty worried about me, not just because where we were living, but also because my cousin Ben was well known for being a substance pusher, and you know how it goes when one family member is down in that world. They usually take all the boys in the family with them because family is the closest thing to trust you'll get. So I show up at home with the syringe in my hand at 7 years old. My mother was shocked and called my father to come home right away. When he arrived, they went straight into the small living room and closed the door. They were in there for a long time. I don't know what they were arguing about, but when they came out, they both agreed that it wasn't safe for me to grow up here. So we went almost immediately to my uncle's place in the Netherlands. First, we just went on vacation for a few months. It was like a whole other planet to me. All I knew was the ghetto, so this place was like the exact opposite of everything I knew. It was so beautiful and so peaceful. There were no bullets firing in the streets every night, no substance pushers, no fighting. All I could see were children playing safely on the street. We visited more often, and my father had, in the meantime, applied for a residence permit. As soon as we got it, we stayed. Going to school there, I was a bit of an outcast. It was just a drastic change from where I was from. I was always getting into trouble, and I chose to solve my problems with violence rather than words. But still, I got by pretty well, especially in school. I was 13, and the year we got our Dutch nationality, my parents decided to go back to France to visit my aunt for the summer. That was the summer that changed everything. When we arrived at my aunt's house, Ben was also there. We were all outside and playing soccer with a brand new ball I just got as a gift. There was also a new boy on the other team that I had never met before. When they lost, he became aggressive and snatched the ball, my ball. I got angry and asked him to give it back, but he refused. What? I didn't know what else to do. My cousin Ben was sitting and watching the whole thing from the front seat of his black car. Then he called me over and he told me, "If he takes your ball, I'm gonna beat you. So if I were you, I'd beat him and get the ball back." I was so scared of being beaten, so I marched over there, and before he could say anything, I kicked him in the stomach and then punched him, square in the face. And I didn't stop there. I kept punching him on and on until I was tired. Then I picked up my ball, went inside the house, and sat down, in complete shock. What had I just done? Suddenly, Ben came in and put his hand on my shoulder and said, "You did the right thing." I answered him, "The right thing? How can violence be the right thing?" He grabbed my phone and put his number in it. "One day I'm gonna call you to help me with something," and then he left. I didn't hear from him for 2 years. But a few weeks after I turned 16, I finally got his phone call. "Hey, I'm coming to the Netherlands to pick you up. We're going on a trip together," he said. Luckily, my parents were in Morocco for a wedding, so I just had to call in sick at school and tell my aunt, who was watching me, that I was going on a school trip. Strangely, she didn't ask any questions. She just helped me pack and dropped me off at school. I waited for her to leave and then ran to the train to buy a ticket to go meet Ben where he told me to meet him. And the first thing he said was, "I want you to help me with my business." "Why me?" I asked him. "I need you to help me with some small chores here and there, and I'll give you some money for it. You in?" I was just a kid that knew nothing of the world. Look, I wasn't the type that wanted respect or toughness or anything. I just did it because I wanted the money. I went to school with a bunch of rich kids, and I just wanted what they had. I didn't have any friends or anyone to talk to. I was pretty lonely most of the time. My stupid 16-year-old self thought that money could help fill that void. Okay, let's go. We traveled across France and Belgium. First, I was only doing small chores like packing boxes or answering the telephone. But then, I would also go to the streets and talk to suppliers with my cousin. They all thought I was just some snot-nosed kid. But I learned a lot while I was out there, and before I knew it, I was able to do business on my own. My cousin kept an eye on me, but I was making progress. At the end of the trip, my cousin handed me an envelope of cash and told me, "Here, this is for all your hard work." I answered, "Thanks, man. I'll organize my business here before our next trip." That was the trip that turned me into a man. When I got home, my father was standing in the doorway. He had been waiting and was angrier than I have ever seen him. "Where have you been? You lied to your aunt, you lied to me, you lied to the school. Do you know what you have done? Because you missed your tests, you're not going to pass this year, and you have to repeat a grade. I can't believe you would behave so irresponsibly. Give me your phone." I handed my phone to him. "Where were you?" he asked me. I decided to just tell him. I went on a trip with Ben. He just looked at me in silence for so long. He was in shock. "From now on, you will go straight to school and then straight home. Do you hear me? No more going out, no more internet, and you will never contact Ben ever again," he demanded, then threw the phone on the ground, shattering the screen, and stepped on it. I stomped up to my room, furious because he didn't understand how hard it was for me to lead a normal life. He just didn't understand the world and the business I was getting into. I decided I had to do my best so that I could contact Ben again. So, I worked really hard in school and got great results all the way until the 4th year in high school. By this time, my father finally started to loosen his grip on me. So I convinced him to let me go to France to visit my aunt, and he hesitantly agreed, as long as I called him every day so he would know what I was doing. But I told my cousin I was coming for the whole summer, and when I arrived, I got back in like I had never left. It was business as usual. Before I knew it, something inside me had changed. One day, I got into a heated argument with one of the suppliers, who was refusing to send us what he had promised. I was so furious that at one point, I just couldn't see straight anymore. I reached for a weapon and lunged it at him twice in the chest. After I did that, I looked at my stained hands in complete shock. It was as if I had snapped out of the person I had become, and for a second, I was myself again. And then I ran. I got home, washed my hands, and sat on the edge of my bed with my head in my hands. I told no one what I had done, but I was lucky because he was just a small supplier and had no one backing him up. I realized after how things could have gone horribly wrong. I could have ended him. He could have ended me. I could have started a war. More people could have died, all just because I didn't think for that 1 second. Just because I wanted to prove something. I decided to go back to the Netherlands, and I told my cousin I would take care of our business there while he handled France. I was in business for about 2 years, and it took a real toll on me. My uncle hadn't seen me for 2 years and told me he couldn't even recognize me. He said I looked 10 years older than I should, but if it wasn't for a good friend of mine, I probably would have landed in a grave. or maximum security cell. He helped me get a job and pass all of my tests. I'm still studying for my exams, but in 3 months, I hope to go back to lead a normal life. I want to find a way to help society, so I chose to study chemical engineering, to make medicine to help people. Ironic, right? I just wanted to share my story because I want people who are buried in this world to know that it's never too late, that you can always come back and build a normal life. And it's so much better than all that. So much better. And the kids that got one foot in the door, step out, man. It's not cool. It's just dangerous. Do right by the people that care about you and for yourself. This kind of stuff can seem so tempting. The money, the power, but it's all surface. If you go too deep, it'll change you. And not for the better, never for the better.